When you're planning your retirement, there's the stuff that everyone talks about, right? Returns, markets, the impact of AI, maybe, predictions about the future. But it turns out there are a few significant shifts taking place right now. And it's got big implications for how we prepare for the decumulation part of life. So in this video, I want to quickly highlight the 3 or 4 shifts that are taking place, the old way versus maybe the new way, and why I think that they're important, especially as we plan for retirement. Hey there, I'm Steve Willems. I'm a wealth advisor with the Willems Wealth Planning Group up in BC. I'm actually down here right now, though, at Futureproof in California with a few thousand other financial planners from around the world, the UK, Australia, a couple Canadians, and obviously a bunch of Americans. It's an annual event, kind of a get-together of thought leaders and planners and media people and founders and tech people, all essentially kind of gathering together to kind of figure out what the future of financial planning looks like globally. What problems are people facing that are common across the world? Like, what's the best way to help those people, to help you as you plan for your own retirement? Then we kind of feel it's our job to kind of take that vision for the future back to our local communities and help folks in the most kind of modern and applicable way possible. So being here, this is kind of like the germination or the incubation site for most of what you'll see come to Canada in the next few years. So those big shifts, what are they and why do they matter? Shift number 1 is a shift from information gatekeeping to kind of like emotional and purpose guiding. So let's start with something that maybe doesn't get enough attention in retirement planning, right? Figuring out what you want your life to look like after you actually stop working. Most people think that, financial advisors are just here to kind of give you, investment advice, or pick the right funds, or maybe predict the market, hopefully. And that used to be true. But today, the role of an advisor has shifted really significantly. And it's not just about managing money or anything like that. It's about kind of helping you define purpose and meaning. Like, for decades, we focused on retirement planning. It was about getting kind of enough money in the bank, right? Grow the portfolio. Hopefully you've got enough, managing then the withdrawals, right? But here's the issue. If you don't know what you want your life to look like, no amount of portfolio kind of full of investments, no real plan for life beyond work, people who make that transition, they feel really lost. So kind of solution number 1, just think about what you want to define your life post-work early. So how do you avoid that? Well, you need to start with figuring out what you want your life to look like after work. I'm talking about kind of defining your decumulation phase early. Right? Don't wait until you've retired to figure it out. Ask yourself a couple of these questions. Like, what do I want to do with my time when I'm not working? Like, I got 40 hours a week. What am I going to do with it? Like, what will give me purpose? What will make me feel fulfilled? Like, how will I structure my days? What does an ideal day look like? These are some questions that I like working through with clients before we even touch their portfolio or even think about their plan, right? Because without knowing the answers, we can't really create a financial plan that supports those life goals. Now, solution number 2, just build the financial plan around those goals, not the other way around. Now, this is where the shift comes in, right? Because instead of looking at the numbers first, we flip the script. We focus on what you want your retirement to look like, and then we build the financial plan to support that vision. If you want to travel the world, we'll design a plan that includes travel. If you want to spend time with your grandkids more than you ever could before, maybe part-time work might make sense. If volunteering or philanthropy is important, kind of figure out how to fund that stuff, right? So that's number 1. But the second biggest shift in retirement planning is about managing your behavior, kind of not just chasing investment returns or just talking about product all the time. Most people think that their success in their retirement kind of hinges on maybe picking the right investments, right? Getting the best returns, like the right strategy. But the reality is this: the biggest threat to your retirement isn't actually the market, it's how you react to it. Morgan Housel is a really popular author. I've quoted him in past videos. He's actually down here right now, and he had this great line, right? Like, getting wealthy and staying wealthy requires 2 completely different skill sets. Getting wealthy is about optimism, right? Like believing in long-term growth, making wise investment choices. But staying wealthy, that's about endurance, sticking to your plan even when the markets get rocky. And most people don't actually have the skills to do both of those things well. And around retirement, when you shift from saving to spending, this can be especially tricky. So 2 things that you can do here. To manage your wealth in retirement, you need to understand how you respond to market volatility, right? Think back to the last crisis, whether it was 2008, 2009, or the COVID crash. How did you react? Did you panic? Did you kind of sell at the bottom? As Morgan Housel kind of reminds us, the only way to understand how you'll respond in the next crisis is to look at how you responded in the last crisis. We really don't actually change all that much as human beings, and how you responded last time is going to be a pretty good indicator or predictor of your behavior in the future. Frankly, that's probably where a good advisor comes in, right? To help you kind of not sabotage yourself when things get rough. But there's a second thing here too. Most people will get tripped up often kind of by the daily market noise. They'll kind of watch the ups and downs. It's tempting to want to take action based on maybe some short-term fear. And we really haven't had a lot of that fear in the last couple of years. So sometimes folks will think that when the market goes down, it means their investment strategy isn't working, right? Something must be wrong or something must be broken. And maybe at times that might be true, but it turns out volatility just generally is actually a feature of the market. It's not a bug. And it doesn't necessarily mean that something is screwed up. It's just how markets work. And so as an advisor, our role is understanding kind of history enough to keep you grounded, to keep you focused on the long term, even when the markets are anything but stable. Average returns for an above average period of time leads to really pleasing results. Now, the third and fourth shift are tied really closely together, and we see it really, really clearly down here at Future Proof. We're seeing more and more people kind of move away from big financial institutions and turn instead to smaller independent advisors that solve very specific problems for a certain group of people. And again, this isn't necessarily like an investment returns issue. It seems these folks are looking all for one common thing: authentic connection. See, for years, most people relied on like the big banks or larger financial firms for their retirement planning, right? Big, stable, safe, like all of that. But obviously, if you've done that, you kind of know, like, you're working with a big institution. It can feel cold, it can feel transactional, maybe clinical, and you're just another account number, right? Another kind of portfolio to manage. And for most people, kind of nearing retirement, that's just not enough for them anymore. They want someone who kind of knows them, who understands their story, who can offer that kind of personalized and human advice, who can stop them from making the big mistakes maybe that they've made in the past and they don't have the time to recover from anymore. And so being down here in California, like, we're seeing this firsthand. Again, this is the incubator. This site is the incubator for like the entire industry. And who is not here is just as important as who is here. So who is here? Well, smaller independent firms specializing in serving in like a very specific niche, right? They're not all things to all people. These firms aren't kind of tied to corporate products, and they don't operate like this mechanical machine, right? For these firms to be successful, you kind of need three ingredients, right? Like, you need a really robust planning capability, like highly specialized. You need to have like robust investment offerings as well, like evidence-based, right? Like, you can't just botch that. But the key is actually a third thing, and it's what I would call like radical authenticity. People are looking to work with humans. Imperfections and all, right? Folks want someone who can kind of relate to them on a personal level, who kind of wants to and is invested in building up that trust, kind of creating that lasting relationship. Someone to kind of give you permission to do the thing that you've always wanted to do, but even if the numbers said it was good, you maybe didn't believe that it was possible. Someone to kind of like whose judgment you can ultimately trust, right? Trust their counsel. So that's who's here, but it's important to also note who's not here. Again, we've got like global representation here. But there are very few Canadian banks here. There's very few U.S. wirehouse brokers here. And their non-presence is pretty indicative of their positioning as it relates to these shifts that are taking place, right? Folks within these firms, they're not bad people. They're not even necessarily doing terrible work or anything like that. It just seems that they're not positioned in a way to truly help folks in the ways that most people are looking to be helped here in the 2020s. So the business of advice is changing kind of rapidly in kind of the age of AI and tech. The human connection seems to be even more important than ever. And so as people are moving away from those big institutions and towards kind of a more independent, kind of authentic way to get help, the value seems to be lying more and more in having someone who can like truly connect with you and kind of guide you through that kind of emotional and financial and complexities of retirement. So hey, I hope that's helpful for you, kind of a behind the curtain look at kind of retirement planning today. I figured there may be kind of like a casual interest in me kind of explaining some of kind of these shifts, so you can perhaps kind of piece together why things are the way that they are, and kind of thoughts that might be in the back of your mind as you plan for your own retirement. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.